The knife is a Spyderco Urban Sprint Run in K390. K390 is a steel that I've been looking forward to see come out. It's a 10V class steel. It's made by Bowler Home. It's a third generation microclean powder metallurgy tool steel. K390 is a 10V class steel. It's similar to 10V with a few differences. Similar amounts of carbon, a little bit less chromium. They reduced the vanadium by 0.75%, and they added in 1% of tungsten and 2% of cobalt. So it's an interesting composition. You got an increase in toughness over 10V with K390. According to Bowler, it should have similar wear resistance to A11 or 10V, although Bowler says that they made it as an upgrade to A11. I'm guessing the increase in toughness is what they were talking about. So I didn't even know about this sprint run coming out. I was on the groups and somebody mentioned something about it, and I asked and they told me about it, and I immediately got online and started going through retailers, and River's Edge Cutlery had it. A lot of other people were playing around with the pre-order button, but they had it in stock, so I went ahead and ordered it, and there was no problem there. In getting the knife, it's good. It's an interesting piece, as Spyderco's first offering in the steel. I mean, outside of a mule team. It's a slip joint, so there's no lock. It's a very to-the-point design. It's very lightweight. The grind is very good. They did a good job with the blade. It's extremely thin behind the edge. I mean, I came in past the edge bevel onto the primary grind, maybe a ½ millimeter with calipers, digital calipers, and measured, and was getting an average of 0.4 millimeters thickness. So it's a very thin grind. The knife has a distal taper, so you've got a nice thin tip to work with there. You do have a finger choil. It is very lightweight. The ergonomics are good. I noticed in cutting, I wanted to do some cutting with this and see how it felt. I knew that I wasn't going to be carrying this for weeks and weeks before doing this review, but I did want to get some use in with it. So I did some cutting on cardboard, and I noticed that where the handle peaks to make the finger choil can get a little bit sharp. But other than that, the ergonomics feel very good. It's a very compact slicer. I needed to sharpen the knife. Although out of box, the edge was very good. Yeah, there's been discussion on the groups recently about which Spyderco factories do the best edges. That came up, and this one is made in Italy, and it's the first Italy-made Spyderco that I've gotten, and the edge was done very well. I don't know if that's typical of Spydercos from Italy, or if the fact that this was a sprint run, or maybe I just got lucky, but the edge on it was pretty impressive out of box. I still wanted to sharpen it, so I started with DMT diamond plates, starting with coarse. I'm using the plates wet. I read somewhere that you don't want to use them dry. You'll put steel in the air, and you don't want to be breathing that in. I don't know if that's true or not, but it wasn't really a problem to use a little bit of water on the plates. But it's worth noting that I'm using them barely damp. I mean, very little water. Doesn't take much. After the coarse diamond plate, I moved on to a fine, and then worked with an extra fine, and then finished with an extra fine. The extra fine plate that I'm using is fairly new, and with DMT plates, when they're new, they're more coarse than after you break them in. I've worked with this with breaking it in, but it still seems a little more coarse than what I would expect. So after this extra fine plate, I brought in the extra fine diafold sharpener and worked with that. I can notice a difference in how the edge feels doing that. After the extra fine diafold sharpener, I moved on to a Spyderco ultrafine bench stone. I worked with that. That was no problem. Edge came right up, and then I moved on to strops, starting with wood strops with a 5 micron diamond compound, then moved on to a 3.5 micron uh, diamond compound, and then a 1 micron and half micron, all on wood. Worked with those, and then moved on to leather strops, starting with quarter micron and making my way down through a series of strops to 0.005 micron. The edge it came up was absolutely hair whittling sharp. It was good. K390. I was interested to see how it sharpens, and it didn't disappoint me. It sharpens very well. I am looking forward to this coming out in more models. The aggression that you get on the edge is good. The steel, it's not overloaded with chromium and other things to kind of slow it down in the sharpening process. And consequently, the edge that it takes is really impressive. It's really where, at least with a high carbide steel, what I like to see. It comes along the way that I prefer. So the knife is an interesting piece. It's an interesting first offering from Spyderco as an introduction to the steel. They did a mule team knife in K390, but with this, you can carry it. You can carry it on you. You can use it. Not all places is it so realistic to be carrying a fixed blade. So it's very. This model seems very minimalistic and to the point. It almost seems like it's really keeping in mind what's important for at least for trying out the steel, which is blade geometry, ergonomics. It's very lightweight. It's the fact that it doesn't have a lock really doesn't bother me. The fact that this is a slip joint. I mean, it's got a half stop. It's got the finger choil. I really don't find it to be any kind of a safety risk. If it did have a lock, that would be fine. I'm kind of indifferent. If it had a lock, that wouldn't make any difference to me. As it is, it's fine. A very compact, to the point, high performance slicer. And I mean, if that's what you're looking for, if you can get your hands on this, this is the one to get, because K390 is going to hold an edge for a very, very long time. I don't think that you're going to see much difference between K390 and 10V in use. I mean, maybe in a test, maybe in a controlled test, it'll show a difference, and I'll go down that road. But as far as carrying the knife and using it, I think they're going to be very, very close in performance, and I think that this was a really good first offering from Spyderco for those of us in the knife community interested to try out the steel.